Hi, I'm Troy.
And I'm Vicki.
And we are Empty Nesters Wine. Hi, and welcome back to Empty Nesters Winery Podcast, Episode 9. Last week, when we were closing up, I mentioned that this week we would be talking about our big batches of wine. When we started this as a hobby, we were making batches of wine in 6 gallons. 6 gallons will make about 30 bottles of wine. And give or take 27, 24, 32, yeah, it varies. But when we started the big batches, it's 66 gallons, and it'll make close to 300 bottles per batch. So there was a learning curve and some fun stuff that happened there. If you would like to have us cover any topic in winemaking or do it yourself or talking about ourselves or whatever it is, feel free to comment below and just list a topic that you would like to hear in a future podcast. I'm not always a creative genius, and I try to come up with a...
Oh, yes, you are. You're always a creative genius.
I try to come up with an episode every week, but yeah, if you guys want to hear something specific, feel free to comment down there. And while you're commenting, go ahead and hit that like button, like our video, and subscribe. Liking the video is always good because it makes me feel like you're actually listening and enjoying it. Anyway, today we're going to be, at the end of our podcast, we're going to be tasting a blackberry wine. It's not our blackberry wine. It's from another winery, but it's a good winery that we've been to several times. It's a sweet blackberry wine. We'll be tasting that at the end of the podcast today. So,
or during.
Well, yeah. If you're Vicki, you'll be drinking it all through the podcast. So, yeah, I guess that's why you hear me talking more and Vicki not.
Yeah.
She's drinking and my mouth is flapping so fast I don't get a chance to take a sip. So our first big batch of wine was our strawberry wine. Strawberry Lane, we're calling it. And it was interesting how this one started because we told you on a previous podcast we had put in for our liquor license, and we were told it'd take 6 months to a year to get our liquor license. So we put that in the application and went about continuing the remodel. 3 weeks later, we get our liquor license, federal and state. The federal took like a week. The state took like 3. So in 3 weeks' time, we had our license and we're ready to roll, but we weren't ready to roll.
No, we weren't planning on that.
we weren't prepared for that. So we didn't even have enough fermenters to go with winemaking at the time. And it just so happened that we got our license right at the end of strawberry season. Most places were picked over, and we were able to get a hold of strawberries, though, right at the tail end of it. We had 1 fermenter at the time, and we need 3 or 4. So
we now have 3.
Yes. So we started a batch in a fermenter, and then we started another batch in 2 separate barrels that we ended up mixing together to make 1 batch. So, yeah, the strawberries, I'd say it's, what do you think, is that one of the more difficult fruits to work up? I mean, there's pears and apples, strawberries.
Strawberries are a little bit more labor intensive, but not as labor intensive as like a pear or an apple.
Right. Well, anyway, our little 6-gallon batches of wine, we'll get some strawberries in here and whip them up in an hour or so, and we're making wine. Whew.
Not so easy.
Yeah, not a 66-gallon batch. We spent 14 hours making wine, and 90% of that was cutting the green tops off of strawberries, cutting them in half, and processing them for the fermenter. So, yeah, that was a 14-hour day, the first day. And then we made a second batch the next day, and we had a couple of friends come over, and they helped us by cutting up some of the strawberries and stuff. So that reduced us down to about a 12-hour day.
Thank you, Greg and Carol.
Yeah. We've got some really good friends, and they've helped us from day one when we bought the building. They've been in there helping us remodel. They help us make the wines, and they even help us do our research, going out to other wineries and drinking wine, which...
They seem to like that job.
Yes. We'll talk about that more in a future podcast. So it was rough getting started. The second wine we did was blueberry wine. Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of different ways of obtaining our fruit and berries. Some of them come easily because they're delivered right to our door. Others we got to go pick off of the plant.
Which is fine if you're making a small batch.
Right. So the blueberries, we had to go out to a farm and pick blueberries, and we knew that was going to be a tough one. So we called on family members and friends to help.
Yep.
We ended up with 9 people out there picking blueberries for 2.5 hours straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody was ready to quit when they finished. When we were done, we had it definitely been quite a chore.
Oh yeah.
It was a hot, humid day, so we got the blueberries picked in one evening, and then we came back, and the next day, I think it was, we made the wine.
Mm-hmm. Much easier.
Yeah, much easier. You don't have to cut green tops off of blueberries.
Nope.
You don't even really have to sort through them because we were sorting through them when we picked them.
Right. Just dump them in the processor and go.
Yeah, that was a lot easier. But here's something. I don't know if you guys realize this. I didn't, but blueberries have seeds.
Yes, Troy. Blueberries have seeds.
Tiny little seeds I wasn't aware of. So we made a batch of blueberry wine, 2 batches. And we have these big conical fermenters that come down to a cone at the bottom. And I put some piping on it and made a valve for it. Well, I opened the valve to drain the wine after it fermented, and nothing came out. Nothing came out. So I had to disassemble the valve up to the valve because I didn't want to take the valve off. That would have been a disaster. But then I opened the valve, nothing. So I had a strainer and a bucket trying to get it to come out, and I sanitized, cleaned and sanitized a metal hanger and was sticking it up in there trying to get it to come out. When it finally did come out, it came out into the strainer, and it was just this big old giant strainer full of nothing but seeds. The seeds had all fallen to the bottom and plugged up the valve. So, yeah, that was interesting. I'd never had to deal with that many blackberries at one time. And blueberries. And yeah, blueberries have seeds. Lots and lots of tiny little seeds.
Well, blueberries aren't the only thing that have seeds. Blackberries also have seeds. But not as bad because they're a little bit bigger. Which our next batch of wine ended up being blackberries, which were delivered. We didn't have to pick them.
Woo! That's the kind I like.
Yep, they came from a local blackberry farm here just outside of town.
However, the delivery was the afternoon of July 3rd.
Yeah, and we had family in town.
Yeah, July 4th, we were supposed to go out and do a family thing, so we were worried because we had a lot of blackberries come in. But it worked out because family in town means family can help.
Yep, we had a big old assembly line going.
We made 2 batches of blackberries in like 2 hours. We had a lot of help that day, and that really came out good.
Yeah.
So I mentioned the conical fermenters and the valves at the bottom, and basically what it is, it's like a big tank that goes down into a cone at the bottom, and then I screw some piping in there to bring it around, and then I put just a valve. You open it and close it, and then a little spout so that it comes out into a bucket that we can put it in, then transfer it to a barrel. And so we just got started. We got 1 gallon of blackberries processed. I went up the ladder. I poured the blackberries into the fermenter, And I looked down on the floor, and there's a gallon of blackberries sitting on the floor. You should make sure that you close the valve before you get started. So,
yeah, we've had a few little mishaps along the way, for sure.
been very interesting. We've been learning a lot about doing big batches. We put wine tannin and yeast nutrient acid blend into our wines, things that help it to ferment and that makes it better. And we usually measure that stuff out into teaspoons into our 6-gallon batches. Well, try putting 100 teaspoons of something into a big batch of wine. So we had to convert that over to cups. So after a little trial and error, we got all that figured out too.
Well, we thought we did. One time I measured something and then thought I measured it completely wrong. I had to dump them all because I'd already mixed them all. And then I got to thinking, no, I measured them right the first time.
Yeah, we dumped it, but it didn't need to be dumped. You don't want to know how many times we've dumped stuff or whatever because we're learning. But it will be a great product by the time it gets to the sales floor. So we were doing raspberries, big batch of raspberry wine. And, when we're doing 6-gallon batches, it's just a little 6-gallon bucket. And it's sitting right there on our kitchen table, we just pour stuff in and do everything, mix it up with a little plastic spoon and make wine. Well, these fermenters that I have are actually 120-gallon fermenters.
120-gallon, yeah.
Yeah, so you have to climb a ladder to get to the top of it to pour stuff in. And then it goes way down to the bottom of the fermenter. And Vicky one time dropped a plastic bag into the fermenter while she's trying to put some stuff in there.
Yeah, and it was only like, I don't know, maybe I had 5 gallons of stuff in there.
So yeah, fishing out that bag was interesting.
Yes.
But we got it. So yeah, I had a cast on my leg for a little while, and we'd put some frozen fruit underneath our table on the bottom shelf of our table, our stainless steel table, and let it thaw out. Well, when stuff thaws, it condensates. And so I was not aware of that. I knew it condensated, I just didn't think about it. So after about 3 hours of sitting on a bench with my feet resting on the bottom shelf of the table, my cast was feeling really weird. And I looked down there, and it had been sitting there the whole time in this big puddle of water, just soaking up the water into my cast. And yeah, it was quite pliable.
Yeah. Luckily, it wasn't one of those plaster casts. It was a little bit different.
So we were making cherry wine and peach wine, and we actually ordered some fruit to go into that. And
yeah, peaches didn't grow here in Kansas this year.
Yeah, so we had to order it. I think I had like 10 cases of peaches on a dolly, and I'm trying to take them down all these stairs that we had. And we had a lot more to go. We had 44 cases total. And yeah, that wasn't working too well. So after I got the first dolly load down to the floor where we make our wine, I just told Vicky, just go up to the top and just throw the boxes over the side and I'll catch them. So we figured out a new way of taking delivery of the frozen fruit.
Yeah.
And Vicky throws it over the side and I catch it and stack it.
Well, have we mentioned that our production floor is actually in our basement, which is an open pit? So we're throwing it over the rail from the sales floor and tasting room.
Yeah, we really need to do a video tour of the winery or something, or maybe you guys can just come out when we open. But it's pretty cool. You walk into the sales floor. Through the sales floor, there's a hallway with restrooms and office on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side, there's a guardrail and an overlook, so you can actually overlook into the basement and see the winemaking process in action. So, yeah, Vicky was just throwing throwing boxes over that guardrail, and I was catching them. We've had a lot of miscellaneous issues. Yeah.
Okay, I'm a klutz.
So Vicky is a very hard-working lady. She's very busy, hard-working, nothing she wouldn't do. But in her haste to fit in as much stuff as she can, she does get a little clumsy. Yeah, there's been a lot of broken glass on that floor already, and we haven't even opened yet.
Well, the rack that's next to our sink is not sitting on level ground, for one. And if you go by it too fast, it wobbles.
I walked by it several times.
Yes, but you were hobbling.
That's true. So, yeah, we broke a hydrometer, a wine glass. Vicky bought a brand new food processor, gets it out of the box.
I was taking it out of the box. Yeah. The little piece fell off and hit the floor.
She dropped the whole thing, and it broke the little piece off.
It didn't.
Oh, all right. But my phone was probably the biggest casualty.
Yeah.
I had it charging, plugged into the outlet, and sitting on the stainless steel table. And I don't even know what happened, but Vicky, you either crashed through the cable or you moved the table.
I think I moved the table to clean something.
So if you've been on if you've been on our Facebook page, all the pictures that you see posted are mine. I take the pictures and post them. Well, yeah, she dropped my phone, and it has a screen protector on it, and it has a case on it, so everything's fine, except for the little
lens cover.
Yeah, the lens to the camera shattered. So, yeah, now it's been very interesting to take pictures. Sometimes I put it on selfie mode and try to take it from the other side. Sometimes I have to take it with Vicky's phone and send it to my phone so I can post it.
Sorry.
It's okay. She works hard. She gets a lot more done than I do. She makes a lot more messes than I do, too, but I guess that goes hand in hand.
Usually, yeah.
We'll be sitting and processing, say, strawberries, for instance, and, I'll be working along, and Vicky will finish a bucket and start another bucket, and I'll keep working along. Vicky will finish a second bucket, start a third bucket. Oh, hey, I'm finishing my first bucket. So, yeah, it happens. But things are moving along pretty nicely with our big batches of wine. We have all kinds of wine working now, 12 barrels aging, so that's great. We're going to open when the wine tells us it's ready. So it's aging now, and when it gets to the right flavor, we're going to open the doors. So
then maybe we can actually open a bottle on our podcast.
Yes. So next week, join us. We're going to be talking about how we designed our labels for our wine and about our original labels and everything in between. So we did promise you we're going to taste test this blackberry wine from another winery, somewhat local to the area, Kansas City area. It's a blackberry wine.
And it's a sweet one.
It's a very sweet one. It's dark. It looks like blackberry. It's got a interesting caramel color around the edge.
It almost has a caramel flavor to it, too.
Yeah. When I first started this journey, I only like dry wines.
And I only like super sweet.
Yeah. Two ends of the spectrum. But we've expanded our palate, and now I kind of like sweet wines as well as dry and in between. But this one is definitely on the very, very sweet end of the scale. Maybe a little too sweet for me, but it's got a good flavor to it. So, all right, join us next week. Thanks for tuning in. Join us next week for Designing Our Labels.